What's up, guys? It's John Dominique, the Soul Proponent. Today I want to talk about a colossal blunder, a huge mistake, a grave error that traditional Christianity makes in relation to heaven. And that colossal blunder is waiting until we're dead to get to heaven. Heaven is timelessness. It can only be experienced in the here and now. And waiting until we're dead is a huge mistake because we go through our lives without being able to feel the full extent of importance, the full extent of meaning, the full extent of value and worth that we are one with. This is our birthright. This is a treasure that we forego if we decide to wait until we're dead to get to heaven. It's a huge mistake because it perpetuates suffering. Most people don't know what's wrong on an unconscious level. They just tend to pass on this feeling of lack of worth, this feeling of emptiness and deficiency onto their children. It goes through the generations, creating cycles and getting worse with each successive generation. It becomes a huge problem in the world, a lack of self-worth. And then we wonder what's wrong with the world. Basically, what we need to understand is that God is an experience of timelessness. Spiritual awakening is for people who are alive physically here and now. It's not a matter of waiting until we're dead. That is more of buying into this punishment and reward system that we're brought up with. We're domesticated, we're civilized, we're accustomed to living in a world of punishments and rewards because that's the way of the world, the way of civilization. That's how humans operate. It's man-made. It's a man-made system. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with time. Time is a great tool. We need to be able to use it, but we need to be aware that sometimes the tool ends up using us instead of us using the tool. We need to see just how fixated we are in time, how it dominates us, how it controls our behavior, and why. Why do we believe it so adamantly? If you look at it deeply, we will see that time is just a construct. It's just an idea in our minds. It doesn't exist in actual reality. What exists in objective physical reality is the effects of time. And what's here and now, the one point in time that's the most important, which is the now, is usually just glossed over, taken for granted. Basically, we don't understand that the one point at a time that's the most important is what we need to be oriented towards, what we need to be focused on. What's here and now is timelessness. And that's the path to the soul, orienting ourselves towards this timelessness. So it's our central mode of operation all the time. It's a huge undertaking. It takes lifetimes, it takes years, it takes practice, it takes blood, sweat, and tears to just even begin to become aware of this timelessness and to be able to stand in it, to live in it, to experience it as our central number one dominant mode of operation as we live our lives. That's the extent of it. That's the importance of it. And there's very little support in the world to even talk about this kind of thing. But we need to understand it's a huge mistake. It's a colossal blunder to wait until we're dead to get to heaven, because heaven is here and now. That's what the soul is. The soul, the path of the soul is peeling away the layers, peeling away everything that has been obscuring the moment, the present moment, presence. And the most central thing, one of the most central things that's obscuring this present moment is the identity of the personality and its fixation in time. Being oriented towards the future, waiting until we're dead, waiting until we fill criteria, waiting until we're a good Christian, waiting until after we live a good life to be rewarded is missing the point. Because the point is that we feel the value of timelessness now as we live our lives, not after we were dead. That's missing the point. It's a huge mistake. So the colossal blunder is believing in time. And then what we need to do is understand why we believe time so much, why we're so stuck in it, how it controls us, how it has a grip on our behavior, and how it takes us away from the truth of timelessness here and now. So to uncover the beauty of reality, we have to peel away the layers of obscurations, obstacles, and barriers that prevent us from experiencing timelessness. And one of those is our belief in time. Really, time, again, is just a concept in our minds, thoughts in our heads. It doesn't exist in objective reality. What exists is what's here and now, or one point out of time, which is the now. It's the same thing with like borders, country borders, and human rights. They don't really exist. They're just concepts, and they're good things. It doesn't mean something bad, like we have to get rid of them. They're necessary for our practical lives, and they're good things. But we have to see how they block us. And we believe in these ideas, especially time, so adamantly, we're hooked, basically. And we need to see why and how. We're brought up, domesticated, civilized into this order, into civilization, because we're humans. This is human civilization. This is how we live. This is how we operate, because this is what we think is best. And these are good tools to use, but sometimes the tools end up using us instead of the other way around, instead of us using the tools. So time dictates to us what we do, how we are. It governs our behavior, tells us what to do, what not to do. Oh, wait until you're dead to get to heaven. Wait until after you meet these conditions and criteria for being a good Christian, and then you can be rewarded later when you're dead. That's not how it works. That's a huge, colossal blunder, because we think that this punishment and reward system is the same thing. It's the same way God is going to treat us, and that's not necessarily the case. We just make these assumptions without actually questioning them. We think time is real. It's a real thing. We're very attached to it. We're very fixated. If we were to let go of time, we'd feel like there would be nothing left. We'd feel like there's nothing to live for. There's no hope. There's nothing to look forward to. And that's the point. We have to get used to that mode of operation, that there's nothing but what's here and now. Looking towards the future and going towards the past is going to make us miss the path to the soul. We're always going to be oriented away from the path. The path is letting go of our attachments and fixations, including our attachments and fixations in time. We have to see that time is not a real thing. We have to see why we value it so much, why we're so stuck in the need to operate it with time and in time. These are very deep and profound areas of exploration. They can't be resolved with one sitting. This is, excuse me, an ongoing inquiry that's very deep and profound. But we have to get into that state of stillness, get into that silence, get into that mode of straight being. Time is the antagonist to strictly being, because we're oriented away from the here and now, and that's where God is. God is the Alpha, the Omega, is the negation of time, here and now, in this moment. Waiting until we're dead is a colossal blunder. Jesus said it's a grave error, a huge mistake, for this is a God of the living, not a God of the dead. So basically, it's a huge mistake to wait until we're dead to get to heaven. Most people aren't even aware that this is a topic, that this is a thing, because they only know what they've been told, what they've been taught, and it's not a popular idea because it's not convenient. And most people would rather not be aware of this idea that time is a barrier to experiencing God. They don't want to let go of their beliefs, and I don't blame them. I used to be just like that. These attachments are very powerful. We feel we can't live without them. But the truth is, you find true life when you let go of all these attachments. That's what the path of the soul is letting go. It's not hanging on. If we're hanging on to waiting in time and waiting until Jesus comes back, that's not the path of the soul. That's more attachment. That's more fixation. That's going to take us away from the path. The path is an orientation of releasing, of freedom. The truth will set us free. Waiting until we're dead to experience heaven is a huge mistake, because heaven is here and now. We have to experience it while we're alive, to experience the richness, the fullness of life. God came that we might have life and have it abundant. Life. It's not a matter of waiting until we're dead to get to heaven. It's a huge, colossal mistake. It's a blunder, a disservice to humanity. Most people don't know anything about this because they'd rather just believe what's popular in order to fit in, to ensure their survival. It's a matter of peer pressure. And no one talks about these topics that are difficult to discuss. Very few environments that will support these types of discussions. But it's important. It's of utmost importance, because we have to orient ourselves here and now. Without doing that, basically we miss the point. We miss the point that heaven is to be experienced now. It's not a matter of waiting until we're dead to get to heaven. That's a huge mistake. Not a matter of waiting until we meet these criterion, waiting until we become a good person when we reach an ideal. And that's part of the problem. We're fixated on ideals and ideas in our head, constructs. These are just thoughts in our mind. They don't actually exist in reality. So we're chasing a carrot, a dangling carrot, waiting until something happens, waiting until XYZ, waiting until we become good Christians, for example, and then we'll get to heaven. That's not how it works. It's a huge mistake. We're missing the point. Okay, so we need to be aware this is a colossal blunder, that this is a mistake in the first place. That's just the thing. We need to first become aware of it and see how and why it prevents us from experiencing God right here and now. John Dominique, the Soul Proponent.